Hi, it's Michael. The human ego is capable of infinite cruelty, and the heart is capable of infinite love. And some of the mechanism of how the human ego can descend into infinite cruelty will be examined shortly, and this mechanism, when turned 180 degrees, applies also to infinite love coming from the heart. If you live in a developed, civilized country like North America, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, and so on, you may have a hard time grasping of how cruel the ego can get. If so, all that needs to be done is visiting some of the castles in Europe and seeing their prisons, their torture chambers, or looking at the news, what's going on in the negative parts of the world, such as the Middle East, certain parts of Africa, certain parts of Asia, where people commit so-called unspeakable cruelty almost on a daily basis, even nowadays. So let's give an example how even a positive person or fairly positive person can descend into cruelty. Let's say, for example, you came to this world with a certain level of energy, and it's a fairly positive level of energy, and let's represent it with a baseline of about here. The higher the line is, the more positive it is, the better it is. The lower the line is, the more negative, the more cruel, the more destructive it is. So let's say that you started your life on this planet at this level, which is a decent level. Now, let's say something bad happened to you. Your sibling died, or somebody beat you up, or somebody stole your car, somebody took advantage of your wife, and now you feel anger. The human ego loves to hang on to anger and entertain it and stoke it. Now the human heart warns against it, guides away from it, but the heart can be overrun, overruled by the mind, by the ego. So the ego stokes the anger. The anger develops into rage, into hatred, and now the person is entertaining thoughts of how to punish the offender, how to get even with the offender. So so you started here, and now thoughts of punishment came to your head, and that's a quicksand, that's a slippery ground, that's not a positive way. More positive way will be explained later. So you start entertaining punishment. So now your positive level here dropped slightly lower, and because it dropped slightly lower, it's like descending into depth of an ocean. The deeper you are in the ocean, the less light, the less sunlight there is, and the sunlight is what brings intelligence and protection and good health to your life. So you entertained thoughts of punishment to the offender. Now your energy level has dropped slightly, maybe very slightly, but it has reduced some of the sunlight coming to you, and now you are more vulnerable to negative energies and further negative thoughts. So because you became more vulnerable, and there are negative energies that love to attack people, that love to bring people down. So out of this slight drop, you attracted more negative energies, and now more negative thoughts come to your head, to your mind, guaranteed. You can still resist them, you can still ignore them, but you have less resistance to it because you have less sunlight coming to you in the bigger depth of the ocean. So now thoughts of punishment snowball into thoughts of revenge. Okay, so now your level dropped from here to here because revenge is really negative. So now you are deeper in the mud, deeper in the ocean, and even less light is available to you. And because you have less protection from the light, from intelligence, you are even more vulnerable to negative thoughts. So more negative energies come to you, more negative thoughts, and you think about ways how you would get even with that attacker, what you would do to him, and throw him to the wolves, and do the same to him as he did to your wife, and beat him up so his own kids won't recognize him, blah 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 blah. And because you keep on entertaining this, and the ego loves to do that, your level keeps on dropping lower and lower. And this energy level can be looked at as spiritual maturity. Okay, that's another name for the energy level, spiritual maturity. And it goes lower and lower and lower. And the lower it goes, the more negative it attracts to it, and the more you're vulnerable to negative energies. And now the cruelty comes in, and what became as negative thoughts turns into cruelty, and that becomes manifested even physically. Let's say somebody makes you angry at work or on the street, a driver cuts you off, and now this hatred, this anger, this negativeness that has accumulated in you bursts to the outside, and now you attack the driver that cut you off. It may be verbal attack, it may not be physical attack, but it's enough, and it keeps on snowballing like this, pulling you down to the abyss of the deep ocean where there is no light. And once you descend into no light, once you're down here, then shit happens. You are in deep trouble, you are in hells, not only figuratively but also literally, and that is hard to get out of. That was one example. Another example is it may start with a positive person, let's say you, who starts drinking alcohol or smoking or starts taking drugs, innocent drugs such as cannabis. And because they are all negative, toxic energies connected to other negative toxic energies in the invisible world, that automatically attracts and generates negative thoughts and feelings in you, automatically guaranteed. You can still ignore them and overrule them, but the resistance to it is lessened because of the toxicity. And again, it keeps on snowballing as in the previous examples. Negative thoughts, negative feelings, fed by all the negative energies that love to bring you down, less light, less protection, less intelligence available to you to resist it, and it keeps on going down and down and down and down into the abyss of health, figuratively and literally. And it's hard to get out of it. So what is the protection? The protection, of course, is the infinite love of the heart that comes from the spirit, and it works the same way in reverse. You think positive thoughts, they attract to you positive energies, more positive feelings, more positive emotions, and you go from here to here to here to here to here. But awareness needs to be used, and caution, because all this positivity is extremely powerful, but in this world is also in a way fragile, in the sense that it can be easily suppressed. You can easily overrule and ignore this positivity, very easily. Look at the state of the world, how it is. So not that positive, right? So the infinite lovingness of the heart can be easily overlooked, ignored, and suppressed by the mind, by the ego. So caution needs to be employed. And of course, asking the spirit for help, protection, and guidance is important. Spirit has nothing to do with religions. The word spirit refers to your essence, to your center, to your base, and it has nothing to do with religions, even though religions use the word spirit. So if you're not into religions, you don't have to be put off by the word spirit. It just means the true self, that is your true home, your true essence. If you started descending into this deeper ocean and you recognize it, and you know you feel frequently angry, you have frequent thoughts of rage, of revenge, of punishment, and you want to get out of it and you don't know how, besides praying, asking for help from the spirit, there are two essential healthcare techniques that help with recovering from these negativities, and they are chiropractic and a neuro-emotional technique, NET, neuro-emotional technique. The practitioners can be found on the website netmindbody.com, and there is a link, practitioner finder or find practitioner, and they can help accelerate your recovery from these negativities tremendously, if you choose so. So that's it for this talk. If there are any questions or comments, they can be left below the video. Wishing you healthy and joyful life. Mike Clouds.